Hello and welcome to the Module 1 Day 2 video lecture. For those of you who watched the optional video, you already know the deal. If this is the first video lecture you're watching for the course, then um, I'm Dr. Jonina Anderson Lopez. I am the instructor for this course, and welcome to 3216. We're going to discuss the Day 2 concepts that are attached to the Day 2 Module 1 outcome. So this slideshow will discuss concepts uh, from Module 1. I don't know why it's Module 2. We'll feature some examples, and we'll also discuss some readings in system. So there are some other details about the course, especially what I expect from you as a student, what you can expect from me as a teacher, and kind of what I expect from you, seeing that you're an adult. So you can read more about that in a PowerPoint that features Module 1, Understanding Concepts page, and you can review that whenever. So this course, Professional Technical Communication course, is about writing, and you already know how to write in an academic sense. But academic and professional writing are very different. Part of this class will be untraining you from writing academically and retraining you to concentrate on getting to the point quickly, or what will sometimes be referred to as brevity or being concise, and really putting into action what you want to say when considering what you want to present to a particular audience. So instead of being very verbose and worried about, I need to check this source and make sure I get it from an academic journal and cite it just perfectly, you're mostly going to be focusing on purpose. Why are you writing? Audience, who are you writing to? Design, what does the document look like? And that brings us to the acronyms for what I just talked about: PAD, purpose, audience, and design. And in a rhetorical sense, those terms connect in a different way. So if you're thinking about why you want to write, you're facilitating the rhetoric of ethos, or presenting yourself in a credible way and getting that purpose across in a quick and articulate way. And then when you're considering the audience, who are you presenting this document to? A lot of logos or facts should go into that consideration. And then lastly, design: what should that email, memo, or what you see on the screen, that business letter, look like? There's a particular template for each one of those documents and other document types we'll talk about as the semester goes on. And if a document is lacking in design, it's not looking quite right, you're going to be lacking ethos or credibility. And then the sentiment or feeling your boss or colleague has about that document is going to be impacted, so that the pathos hinges on design as well. Part of this first week and learning about document types is learning about emails, and there's etiquette that goes along with addressing your audience and considering those sorts of factors for professional email. The email you see on the screen is not the best example for how to construct a professional email. There are some good parts about it, and there's some not great parts about it. I'll point out that the on-screen example addresses everyone with hi, team. So using a word in everyday conversation like hi, good morning, hello to begin an email, you can do it, but it doesn't exactly work in a professional setting because it really matches face-to-face conversations rather than electronic communication that can be sent at any time. And so why would you start it with hi, hello, or especially good morning because maybe you're sending it at the A better way to start an email is simply um, all or team. Simple. Keep it simple. You're going to find that repeated throughout this class. Another lacking element for the email on the screen would be the subject line, product updates. They could add a bit of detail. You get a better understanding of what the email is for before you open it, and that saves you a little bit of time. One strong mark of the email on the screen is the way they've separated the beginning, middle, and end. You do not want to have a one block email in which it literally just looks like a block of text and you cannot tell where the beginning, middle, and end start. The last strong component of the email on the screen is the first line of the email gets to the point and gives you an idea of the purpose of the email, and that's what you want to do with each one of your professional emails. So there are more examples. There's a slideshow, there's some video links for greater understanding of email etiquette and email import for the course and for Project One if you visit the modules. So more on emails would be to carefully consider what you're drafting before you hit send. Not only are you constructing emails for probably your boss or your colleagues, so you have to consider the tone. How are you going to address those different audiences? Because the way you talk to your boss is going to be different than the way you would address a colleague who might be also your friend. You can be a little less formal with them versus your boss, in which the way you string together your words is going to be different. Additionally, in being careful, what you type can be screenshotted, it can be shared with other colleagues, it can get you fired. So what you type is there forever, and be cognizant of that. And again, there are more links and thoughts about this in the module in Understanding Concepts. There are basic email rules. These are not all of them, but these are a good place to start, and especially to help you if you're maybe viewing this ahead and you haven't finished the purpose and audience homework assignment. And these will also help you if you've never seen them before, and you've never seen these tips before. It will help you drafting your emails for Project One, and it might help you with your outline. So this link can be found in Understanding Concepts in Module 1. MLA or APA formatting. This was mentioned in the syllabus, and that may also be something you haven't looked at before, haven't thought about before, that as you're going through the modules, you see that mentioned in the assignment guidelines, particularly for the outline assignment. So, or it might, I don't know if I have it on my website. What this means is I want you to choose one formatting type that fits with your career path, because 3250, like other courses, is comprised of science students with a science background, students with business majors, marketing students, some English majors, and those major types expect to adhere to one type of formatting. So whichever one you feel more comfortable with, choose it from my course and adhere to it for all the homework assignments that ask for formatting. So I never want you to mix MLA and APA. I want you to say to yourself, I like APA, I feel comfortable with it, that's what I'm going to do, or vice versa with APA. So I do have examples for my expectations of what I mean by MLA or APA formatting, and do not worry about formatting email, memo, or letter in APA or MLA format because it's going to end up layers. For most projects, I do offer an optional conference day, and that first opportunity for an optional conference day is going to take place next week when we go into week 2. It's so you can discuss any project 1 or other questions, concerns about the course. There's a Google Doc sign-up sheet in Understanding Concepts for day 2, and I'll show you once we get out of this slideshow for the video lecture. If you attend on time, you can receive up to 3 points of extra credit for attendance. There are other caveats to that we'll discuss when we look at the week. So the password for this day 2 video lecture for the assignment that requires a password is what you see on the screen right there, and you can put the password at the bottom or the top of the assignment, and that is something I will show you when we're looking at that particular assignment. The assignment that's going to close out this week is an outline, and as awful boring as they seem, even in a professional context, they're a lifesaver because it's going to help you break down what you need to do. It's your checklist of what to do for a project, and where you're concerned for project 1, it's a writing project that requires some problem solving, yes, but it's also going to add to your ethos, your credibility. If you're known as that person who is organized, can think ahead, and that's where an outline is going to help you and save your life, your academic or professional. So moving into more about project 1, because if you've looked at the syllabus or you watched the video before this, you know that the course is broken up into 4 phases, and those phases are composed of projects, and we're headed into the first component for project 1, and that is comprised of thinking about the purpose. Why are you going to draft these professional documents in response to which scenario? Understanding brevity, or getting to the point as soon as you can, and understanding the different types of audiences you're going to connect to in project 1. So we're going to discuss understanding those audiences, what they need to know, being succinct, the format of these documents, and thinking about proofreading before you hit send. I proofread even a text to a friend before I hit send, and I always see something I can fix. If that happens to me on a text, imagine if you gave 1 or 2 more glances to a professional email or document you were about to hit send on. So project 1, a reminder if you didn't look at the syllabus or you're still kind of confused, it starts with an outline, and we're going to finish that at the end of this week. Then for week 2, we move into rough draft stage, and peer review for week 3, and week 3 ends with you submitting the final draft. And ultimately, if you're still confused, what is project 1? It is you picking a workplace scenario, responding to said scenario via 3 audiences, and you choosing the 3 formats you think are best, the 3 document types to respond to those 3 people. And as I was stating, this is kind of the breakdown for the expected due date for components of project 1, and this is going to remain the same for each project. So you're going to kind of get into a rhythm and expect, okay, each project is going to follow this same kind of pattern: outline, draft, peer review, final draft. If you are part of my online class, because right now I'm addressing my face-to-face and online classes, for peer review, we will not be doing that face-to-face, and you will instead be expected to upload your rough draft to a discussion board, and we'll kind of talk about how that works. So the purpose of Project One, again, is to pick a workplace scenario based on the ones available to you in the modules and the assignment guidelines. You're responding to 3 professional people in that chosen scenario. And you're going to choose which document type, memo, email, or letter, should fit like a puzzle piece with each person in the scenario. And that might differ from person to person. On one cumulative document, you're going to respond to these 3 audiences, and you're going to consider purpose, audience, and design as you craft your response to each person. The genres or the type of document for Project One are what you see on the screen. And you have those 3 choices, and you have 3 people to respond to for whichever one scenario you choose, and each person you respond to is going to receive a different document. So, for example, what you see on the screen, we have a permutation of 2 memos and a letter. For you, based on whatever logic you apply to your scenario and the audiences, maybe your permutation is going to be 2 emails and a memo, or 2 letters and a memo. There's no wrong or right permutation, but for some audiences, one type of document will be more appropriate versus another. And what I don't expect to see for any student is all 3 of the same document types. So, for example, if you expect email, email, email as your response to those 3 people, you're not going to like the grade you receive. Part of the purpose of Project One is problem solving and considering document selection. And so that's why I'm leaving the document selection up to you. And I'm expecting some higher thinking to enter into your choices rather than, I'm just going to choose email, 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 and respond, like the small homework assignment. You shouldn't do that. So medium, that's another thing to consider. And when I say medium, I mean, how will you deliver the letter, memo, or email? I need to know that. So an email, that's intuitive. I know you're going to electronically send an email. But for a memo or a letter, there are different ways you could, in a professional context, deliver those documents. And I need to know, do you plan on sending a certified business letter? Do you plan on emailing and attaching that business letter? Do you plan on printing out the memo and handing it to the person? So I need to know the genre or the type of document you choose for each person, and then I need to know the medium, how you can deliver it to that person. Now that we've covered major concepts, let's look at Canvas for an idea of what we are doing to close out week 1. So we're on day 2. Once we clicked modules and we brought up the different blocks for the semester, we're in week 1. But day 1, if you were in my face-to-face courses, we talked about that in Tuesday's class, or if you're in my online class, we went over it in a video lecture. And so that's why we're focusing on day 2 concepts that you can also review here. And there's stuff I talked about in the slideshow that won't close, that are supplemental. links that are supplemental, but that will really help you in understanding assignments, and then more about MLA, APA formatting, conference day stuff, and that this is where you can find the sign-up sheet for conference day. And it's a Google Doc. It's open to all my classes, so you're going to see names on here you don't recognize. And I remind you here of the conference day, and that it's a Zoom meeting, so you'll need Zoom in some capacity, and that you'll need the meeting ID and the passcode, and here's the link. And it's only a 5-minute conference, and it's optional. You do not have to attend the conference. And the time slots that are available are here. It's in Eastern time. For this doc, I want you to type your name, delete some of the lines so that the lines kind of stay neat. If you see a line is filled up on a time you want, do not go and delete somebody's name. I'll know that you did that because Google Docs has some magic in which I can figure that out, and I don't want you to do that. So then just pick a different time. If you see the time is filled up and you're like, oh, she didn't want me to delete it, I'll just add a slot next to it. Don't do that. I'll just erase here. If you don't show up on time, then you will not get the potential 3 points of extra credit for attending. If you show up and you're like, I don't know why I'm here, you're also not going to receive the potential 3 points of extra credit for attending. To be prepared and get the 3 potential points of extra credit for this optional conference day, come to the conference with a question or concern about the P1 rough draft or some concept from week 1 or 2 or even 3, if you so choose. So now that we've looked at the important stuff from understanding concepts, I'm going to remind you that there are separate pages to tell you about the reading. And the readings always match up with the e-text available via USF Writes here or USF Writes here. You cannot access the chapters by clicking. They're not here. You have to purchase access to the e-text on USF Writes. And if you purchase access, it will log you in automatically. You click the correct course, and you go to e-text, and then you can access the particular chapter needed for that day 1 or day 2 assignment. And then we have the document series or project 1 instructions. And there are some details that you can review here, or you can download them. And ultimately, the document will tell you what I already told you during the video lecture, but it also provides the scenario details, which you can also find by clicking on the last assignment of Project 1, which is creating your outline for Project 1. It has the assignment description and the scenarios on a separate page here that you don't have to wait for it forever to load. And it's telling you that there are 4 scenarios listed on this page. You only need to pick one of them. And then once you pick one that you like, there's 4, and not all of them are great, but you got to pick one, right? Once you've picked one, you're married to that scenario, and you know that you have to read every detail of it to help you with problem solving and understanding what you're going to do. Because ultimately, just like the homework assignment you should have already completed earlier, you're responding to 3 particular audiences for a scenario. But instead of email, you're responding to them using either an email, memo, or a letter. And the permutation of what you use for any of the audiences is up to you. So Faith might get a memo, the managers might get a memo, and Steve might get a business letter, for example. And what you should not do is email for all 3. Don't do that. Each scenario is different. The first one is retail-based. Scenario 2 is tech-based. Scenario 3 is municipality kind of construction-based. Scenario 4 is an HR issue, things like a corporate business office setting. They're all different. All of them have different audiences and different expectations for the document type you have to choose. And choosing document type is part of your grade. Brevity, or saying what you mean with as little words as possible, is part of your grade for project 1. And practicality, is it possible? The problem solving, enter into it. And formatting, what does it look like? These things enter into your grade. But going back to the actual assignment, drafting your outline, you've reviewed the scenarios, you chose scenario 1. And then there's another supplemental look or link that might help you make a decision for which type is appropriate for each audience. When you read them, they're not end-all be-all rules. They're kind of flexible expectations. And like most rules, you can bend them without maybe breaking them, per se. So you've done that, and then part 1 of the assignment is optional. Just kind of brainstorming about your assignment. You don't need to respond to any of these questions. I don't care about them, really. The thing to get you the grade, part 2, is drafting ideas for how you're going to respond to your chosen scenario. So that might be going back to the scenario you chose. Maybe you chose 1. Maybe you copy and you paste it. And because the assignment guidelines tell you don't need APA MLA format, you don't really care about that, but you open up your template anyway. And you do that because even though you're responding in a forum, if you respond in the forum and then you hit submit and your internet disconnected or something, you lost all that work. So I suggest working in a doc all the time, and then copy and pasting to your discussion board if you need to do that. So what you also need to do is consider what is being asked of you. And it's more just like, think about this and that. It gives you a sample of an outline. So what you can also do is click the outline, copy and paste it, and put it here. This is just reminding you of the people you have to respond to. And here's the outline that you actually want to use, and maybe you delete this after. We also know that it's asking us for the password from the day 2 video lecture that I had told you about before. Maybe we put it right here at the top so I can't miss it. Sometimes I see people put it at the bottom. I don't care where it is. I need to see it. Sometimes people highlight it or they bold it. You don't have to do any of that. But what you have to do is put the video password somewhere, the correct one. The Witcher Season 2. Put it somewhere so you get the full range of points for the assignment. And then once you know your scenario number, mark that on your outline. We're doing 1. And then this document is for FACE. You're going to let me know that too for your outline. Which document type do you think is right for FACE? Maybe it's an email. And then give me some ideas for what that email will be comprised of. Not actual sentences, but will tell her XYZ. Will quickly update. So just some ideas of what the email will be. And then the second person you're going to respond to is the 10 managers. Maybe they get a letter. And then the last person is Steve. Maybe he also gets a letter. These are ideas. This is not necessarily correct or wrong for that scenario. And then just like with the email to FACE, you outline some ideas for the letter to the managers. What would be in that letter specifically? Some phrases, some ways to approach it, some problem solving based on details in the scenario. Once you've done that, I would copy and paste your outline, hit reply on the discussion forum, paste what you have, making sure that your password is also there for your submission. And hitting post reply. If you're thinking, how is she going to grade this assignment? I usually include a sort of rubric for things, point breakdowns, asking yes or no questions of you, giving detail on that and telling you what it could be worth, reminding you to include a password if it's required, and noting that I might include text-based feedback for each submission based on what you could improve on. So this assignment is due on January 16th at 11:59 p.m. I do accept it late, up to 3 days past the due date. 10% will be deducted for every day that it is late. If you have any questions, please email or WhatsApp me, and you have a quick question.